everybody. Today I'm going to show a scrapbook layout using this sketch here, and this sketch is part of the weekly lid challenge on the Cricut message board in the Cricut layout forum. This is the June 5th through the June 11th challenge, and my elements ready to go so that this won't be too long of a video. This is my base layer that I'm using, and this is Apricot Hill from Stampin' Up, and it's 12 by 12. So these are the two pictures that I'm going to be using. It's of some elk in Yellowstone last September for our trip that we took there. And so basically what I did is I took the pictures and picked colors that coordinated with the pictures well, that I thought anyway. I already cut my strips down, my circles that I'm going to be using, and all the accent pieces of cardstock that this layout requires. This scalloped cut I just did from Plantin Schoolbook, and it's the roly-poly function creative feature key, and I cut this at 3/4 inch. Actually, let's go ahead and get started at laying down some of these pieces. And the first piece is this. This is close to cocoa, and it's cut at 6 inches by 12 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this down using my ATG 714. And I did get this at framingsupplies.com. So I'm just adhering all 4 sides to this. And next I'm going to go ahead and adhere my circles. I'll adhere the smaller circle to the bigger one. And this circle is cut at 5.5 inches. And it's the real rust from Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to off-center this in the circle just a little bit. Now this pattern paper here is from Graphic 45, and it's part of their Hey You collection, or Times Navajo collection, Hey You. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down to the actual layout. I'm just going to kind of place it here. I cut this circle is 7 inches, and it's probably bigger on the actual layout, but it's what I decided to cut it at, and so it'll work. And the next step is I'm going to adhere these little pieces of paper down here at the bottom. This is the same pattern paper as the bigger circle, and this is cut at 3 inches by 2 inches tall. So 3 inches long by 2 inches tall. This kind of goes right here, and I'm going to lay them out first before I actually adhere them down to make sure that that's how I want it to go. This piece of pattern paper is from the Die Stack with Die Cuts with the View, and a rustic stack made by Die Cuts with the View, and that's going to go here. And this is cut at 11.25 inches by 1.5 inches. This pattern piece of paper is cut at 10 inches by, it looks like just 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down to the bottom. We need to adhere the photos. So again, I'm just going to use the ATG. And this photo kind of goes up at an angle. And then this one goes down just a little bit. Okay. So there's basically the gist of the layout. We just need to add a title and some journaling. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Gypsy to do the titling on there. I'm going to go ahead and use lyrical letters. So I just clicked, let me go back to that. Let me zoom out to, okay, I think that'll be good enough. So right here is where you go to your cartridges. It's a little, it looks like a little cartridge overlay. And then it'll bring up your cartridges, and I'm the Loop-de-Loo creative feature, which I love the new update because it has the actual creative features on there so I know what the title of it is. And I'm just going to do elk. And I'm going to just use all lowercase, and I just selected ELK, and I'm going to go ahead and go to back to my mat, and you just select the overlay button again. I'm going to move this just out of the way. My image selected, and I'm going to go ahead and change the height to 3.5 is what I want it at for the title. And so it enlarged the image. And I'm going to zoom in just by hitting the top silver button, the big one, to zoom in so I can look at my letters because I'm going to actually weld them together. Now the easiest way to weld them together is go to your Advanced tab, make sure you have the image highlighted, and I'm just going to hit the KE button, and that's just kerning, so it's just going to change the width of your letters either closer together or further apart. Now down here there's these little arrows, the little sizing, that first, and I'm going to go down and it's going to take it to 0.10, and I'm going to do it one more time to negative 0.20 because I'm shrinking them together. And so it looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hit the single arrows and keep going down until it gets a little bit closer to where I want it to be. And that looks pretty good. I want my E to go over a little bit more than what it is, but I don't want the L and the K to get any closer. So I'm going to just highlight the E until it turns purple, and that means that that specific image or letter is selected within the group. And I'm just going to use these arrow keys right here to move that over so that it's a little bit more connected. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to hit my weld button, which is the star, circle, and square, and you'll know that it's completely welded when the whole thing turns yellow. Now, just to make sure that it looks good, I'm going to go ahead and hit the preview button, and it's going to highlight everything in red that is welded. And then the part that's not going to cut is going to be in light gray, and I think that looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and click off preview, zoom out, and I'm going to move it to the upper left-hand corner of my mat. Okay, so here I am at my Cricut, and I'm going to go ahead and attach my Gypsy to the Cricut. My Gypsy cord is already connected to the back of my Cricut, and I'm just going to plug in the little piece right here in the Cricut. For some of you, it's going to be on the top if you're right-handed, on the bottom if you're left-handed. Turned on, and I'm going to go ahead and load my mat. You can load your mat from the Gypsy, but if you have a cartridge in your Cricut, you can still load the mat manually. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to load that in there. And then on my Gypsy, I'm going to go ahead and press under the Basic tab. I'm going to hit the X-Acto knife, the cutting blade, and it's going to get those images. And right here is where you would load your mat, but I've already loaded it, so I don't need to worry about it. I'm going to hit the cut, the X-Acto knife again, and it's just making sure that my pressure and my blade depth are where I want it to be. That's what this screen is, and I'm just going to press OK. And then it's going to cut. Okay, it's done cutting, so I'm going to take my Gypsy and just press unload mat. Okay, so I have my image cut here. I'm just going to go ahead and take off the mat. I'm going to use my Zig 2-way glue to do this. So I'm just going to adhere this down right here. And now for the journaling, it just has strips of paper with your journaling on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get out a piece. It's very vanilla cardstock from Stampin' Up. Okay, so I have my image on, or my journaling on this piece of very vanilla cardstock, and I'm just going to trim it out. And I wrote it so that it was spaced so that I could still trim it, and then at different lengths so that it wasn't all the same. So, again, I'm just going to do this using my ATG gun. The finished layout with that sketch. Like I said, pretty simple, but I do like the different elements with the strips of paper, different pattern paper. It looks a little bit more complicated than it actually was. So I hope you enjoyed watching this episode, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.